Hello and happy Halloween! Metal Rocker 86 is here again with another review. So in the spirit of the season, let's look at Kiss, Creatures of the Night. I don't think I need to give Kiss's backstory again, but if you'd like to hear it, please go watch my review of Destroyer. On to the album. Creatures of the Night is Kiss's 10th studio album, and it was released on October 28th of 1982, 40 years ago yesterday. Prior to the release of this album, Kiss had not been on a good streak. Their previous couple of studio albums were not performing that well. They were trying something new that wasn't working, so they had to go back to their hard rock roots. Unfortunately, the highest it ranked was at 22 in the UK and Sweden, and it was a certified gold in the US. It consists of 9 songs and altogether is just under 39 minutes long. Here's a fun fact. On some of the early presses of this album, it contained a whole side of John Cougar's American Fool, which I previously reviewed. On lead vocals and rhythm guitar is Paul Stanley. On vocals, bass, and rhythm guitar for War Machine is Gene Simmons. And on drums, percussions, bass on I Still Love You, and backing vocals is Eric Carr. For some weird reason, Ace Frehley is credited on lead guitar for this album, but he never plays. Now on to the songs, starting with the album's title song, Creatures of the Night. It was also released as a single. It was written by Paul Stanley and Adam Mitchell, and Paul Stanley handles the vocals. This one is quite up-tempo. Instrumentation. The main focus is on the guitars in this one, and they'll really get you rocking, but you can also hear the drums in the background. I also really like the bridge in this song, which consists of a very cool guitar riff. I interpret the lyrics as being about guys who party at night and sleep during the day. And this was a good song on the album. Now we get to Saint and Sinner, which was written by Gene Simmons and Michael Japp, and Gene Simmons also handled the vocals. The same tempo continues into this song. Instrumentation. The main focus is on the guitars and they have some cool riffs, but you can also hear the drums in the background and the solo's pretty good too. I feel like this is a breakup song, where one is a sinner compared to the other one who is not. This was another good song on the album. The tempo is still fast in this next one, which was written by Paul Stanley and Adam Mitchell, and Paul Stanley handled the vocals. It's called Keep Me Comin'. Instrumentation. The guitar riffs will really get you into a headbang, but you can also hear the drums in the background. I like the solo in this song too. I should probably not describe the lyrics in this day and age, but this was another good song on the album. Now we get to Rock and Roll Hell, which was written by Gene Simmons, Bryan Adams, and Jim Vallance, and Gene Simmons handles the vocals. This one is moderately fast-paced, but it gets pretty hard, and I love the energy. Instrumentation. It starts off with an awesome intro that focuses on the guitars. But in the verse, things get quiet with some bass and drums, but the guitars return for the chorus. This one had a pretty cool solo. I feel like the lyrics describe the problems that Ace Frehley was going through. He and Gene Simmons did not always see eye to eye. This was another good song on the album. This next one is quite up-tempo. It was written by Paul Stanley and Adam Mitchell, and Paul Stanley handled the vocals. It's called Danger. Instrumentation. This one starts off with the guitar intro that builds up. The main focus is then on the guitars, which give off great energy with some background drums. I really like the solo in this song too. I interpret the lyrics as being about a guy who goes out at night and commits crimes wherever he goes. This was another good song on the album. Now the tempo slows down as we get to this next one. It was written by Gene Simmons and Vinnie Vincent. Gene Simmons also handles the vocals. It's called I Love It Loud, and it was also released as a single. Instrumentation. This one starts off with a drum intro that builds up into the verse. And then the guitars come in, and they kind of remind me of the guitars from Aerosmith's Ragdoll. There is also a part where you think the song ends, but the energy returns just before the song ends. The song came to be when Gene Simmons and Vinnie Vincent were at Diana Ross's house, and they were discussing the things they liked, so they put it together. I feel like the lyrics describe a guy who's a party animal, and this was another good song on the album. The tempo slows down again as we get to I Still Love You, which was written by Paul Stanley and Vinnie Vincent, and Paul Stanley handles the vocals. Instrumentation. The main focus is on the guitars in this one, and they give off a sad mood, but you can also hear the drums in the background. I like the solo in this song too. I interpret the lyrics as being about a guy who breaks up with a girl, but he doesn't realize how good he had it until she's gone and he wishes he could have worked things out. This was another good song on the album. Now the tempo speeds up as we get to Killer, which was also released as a single. Gene Simmons and Vinnie Vincent wrote it, and Gene Simmons handles the vocals. Instrumentation. The main focus is on the guitars, but you can also hear the drums in the background. I interpret the lyrics as being about a woman who causes misery to anyone she is in a relationship with, and this was an okay song on the album. The tempo is quite fast as we get to the final and my favorite song on the album, War Machine. It was written by Gene Simmons, Bryan Adams, and Jim Vallance, and Gene Simmons handles the vocals. Instrumentation. The guitars sound awesome in this one, and they'll pump you up, but you can also hear the drums in the background. I also really like the solo in this one. I interpret the lyrics as being about a guy who's full of himself and likes to start physical fights, and this was a good song on the album. So what did I like about this album? I felt this one was quite underrated. The songs weren't bad at all, the instrumentation sounded really good, and so did the vocals. While there wasn't anything I hated about the album per se, there wasn't really anything that blew me away either. To conclude this, you should give Creatures of the Night a chance. You might like it. Well, that's the end of this review. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to subscribe and share. Until next time, rock on!